In South Sudan, Kenya reiterates its call to all parties to fully honor their commitments under the revitalized peace agreement. We will be in Parliament this week as part of developing the necessary infrastructure for us to undertake this heavy transformation. We are setting up a National Infrastructure Fund. I have had discussions with the IFC. I have had discussions with the World Bank. I have had discussions with the Africa Development Bank. We've had conversations with the Afri-Exim Bank and many other partners. And they have given us a lot of support in terms of ideas, in terms of how we can use the public resources that we have, the public assets that we have, in a much more structured manner, in a manner that we can use the resources and assets that we have to crowd in resources from the private sector and from other sources to be able to drive our development. Kenya remains a firm proponent of a rules-based international order. Amid growing global instability, we reaffirm our commitment to sovereignty and territorial integrity as enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. As the UN marks its 80th anniversary, the world stands at a critical inflection point with multilateralism under increasing strain. It is our firm belief that a strong United Nations and a steadfast adherence to multilateral principles remains indispensable in addressing the complex and interconnected challenges of our time. We are proud to host the only United Nations headquarters in the Global South and remain committed to providing the political, security, and infrastructural support necessary to expand the UN presence in Kenya. We are focused on doing three fundamental things, interventions, for us to be able to lift our country to the next level. Number one is we need to generate energy. As you are aware, we have 3,300 megawatts in our grid today. For us to undertake the kind of technology transition, industrialization, and manufacturing that is necessary for us to move the country to the next level, we need energy. And we have good reserves of renewable energy in geothermal. I think we have capacity of another 10,000 megawatts. We have another 20,000, maybe more, of wind energy. We have a lot more of solar. So we anticipate to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy in the next 7 years. That is the plan. This will require not just public money. Of course, we are going to provide public money, but we will need to crowd in private sector money, money from other entities, investors, pension funds, venture capital, and many other people who have resources to invest in that space. Number two is we need to expand our infrastructure. We're still not yet there. If you look at our infrastructure, we have developed 20,000 kilometers of tarmac in the last 60 years. Our intention is to develop another 28,000 in the next 7 years, to double the number of tarmac roads in Kenya. We already are on course. We have mapped out what the areas are, and we believe that we can raise the resources to undertake this transformation. That includes the modernization of our airports, starting with Jomo Kenyatta, extending the railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and onward to Uganda, then to the region. Actually, the railway, I think we have already set a date. We have found the resources, both public and private. So we will be starting the construction and launching the same in March this year. Again, we have finalized the discussions with the airport. We also want to modernize our airport. All of you know we don't have much of an airport, you know. Our airport is, the arrival is on the tarmac. So, and it's way, way overdue. You know, we should have done this maybe 15 years ago. So we want to begin that process of construction of a new airport under a framework that is going to bring public sector, private sector concessionaires. And I am hoping that we can begin that before June this year. So again, that whole infrastructure development is one thing that we are focused on achieving. And I'm saying this because we will require partners. We will require private sector partners. We will require some of your investment arms of your nations, whether at the airport, on the railway, on some of the toll roads that we are doing, the expressway that we are planning to Thika and other areas. So there is opportunity for us to work with you. There are opportunities for us to strengthen our partnerships, both at the public to public level, but also public to private. And I will be looking forward to working with yourselves so that we can do this together. Excellencies, in 2025, Kenya continued to deepen bilateral relations across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. These engagements strengthened cooperation in trade, investment, security, migration, climate action, education, and technology, while expanding people-to-people exchanges. I am very happy that in the last 3 years we have been able to conclude, sign, ratify the Economic Partnership Agreement with Europe. It was quite a very proud moment to sign that contract here. We have also concluded the CEPA agreement with the UAE. We have also almost concluded now the agreement with China. And my Minister for Trade will be leaving the day after tomorrow to conclude the negotiation, the bilateral trade agreement with the United States. And we are aligning more so that we can build a stronger ecosystem of trade partnerships that will allow us to do more with many friends across the globe. We look forward to further widening and deepening diplomatic engagement in 2026 as we advance bilateral cooperation frameworks globally, promote peace and security, strengthen trade and investment ties, expand scientific, technological, and cultural exchanges, foster regional integration, facilitate labor mobility, and harness collective efforts towards shared continental and multilateral aspirations. Let me appreciate the support to the African Union by many partners here. And to support what you have done over the years, we are having a very candid conversation as African leaders, and I will be presenting a report on what we have managed to put together. Number one, to do more on funding the African Union. We have developed alternative mechanisms of trying to make sure that we fund the African Union 100% by ourselves, so that whatever partnership exists will be additional to what we are doing as leaders and as countries in this continent. Number two, we are looking at the peace and security infrastructure. The peace fund we have at the AU require re-engineering. We have made proposals, and we will ask for support from friends and partners so that African peace interventions, as was passed by the UN resolution, I think 2279 or thereabout, that says that African Union or African peace security interventions will be funded by assessed contributions of the UN, so that we can be able to take charge of the hotspots in our region. But aside from that, we are also looking at what we can do on the African standby force to be able to manage the security challenges in our region more. I will be making this presentation to my colleagues this weekend. We are also looking at making the African Union much more accountable. Today, there is a disconnect between the Pan-African Parliament and the executive institution of the African Union. We want to see how budgets can be approved, improve the efficacy of the Pan-African Parliament, and we've made concrete proposals on that, how that can be done. And then finally, we want to create much more accountability by finally bringing into force the African Court of Justice. Today, if there are disputes between institutions of the AU, there is no mechanism of adjudicating. Today, if there are disputes between countries, there is no mechanism of adjudication. Thankfully, the instruments for the establishment of the African Court of Justice have already been ratified. They have already been signed. What is only remaining is the actualization. So again, we will be making those proposals. We've also learned the hard way that the Constitution mandates us that we must be intentional on making sure that there is intergenerational equity. That we don't, whatever we have today, we need to think about not just today, but we need to think about tomorrow and the generations that will come after us. I was in Kwale, for example, this week actually, on Friday. And when I met the leadership in Kwale, they told me, look, Mr. President, we had titanium in Kwale. We exploited titanium It got finished. The mine is now closed. And there is no sign of that titanium anywhere today. Some generations in the future will ask us, there was titanium in Kenya, what happened? You people ate the whole of it and left nothing for us. So we're going to Parliament to actualize a new legislation, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, that will now provide mechanisms for making sure that whatever it is that we do now, whether through privatization or any other resources, we have a fund that takes care of the generations that will come after us. Again, we have areas that we will learn from some of you. We will work together so that the Sovereign Wealth Fund will secure intergenerational equity and enhance resilience to external shocks through disciplined, transparent, and long-term stewardship of national resources. We recognize the United Nations remains one of humanity's greatest collective achievements. Yet persistent funding shortfalls and administrative constraints continue to limit its efficacy and responsiveness. Kenya therefore supports renewed efforts to strengthen and adequately resource the UN system. The defunding of UN agencies weakens multilateral cooperation and diminishes the international community's capacity to respond to conflict, humanitarian crisis, global health threats, and development challenges. At the same time, Africa also marks 2 decades since the Ezulwini Consensus and the Sirte Declaration, through which the continent has spoken in one voice in calling for just and equitable reform of the UN Security Council. And then number 3 is, as you know, Kenya is an agricultural country. We are almost exhausting the land that we can farm under rain-fed agriculture, and therefore it is absolutely necessary for us to now venture into more of water harvesting, water storage, irrigation technology. That is the space we want to go into. So there is also opportunity for us to work with partners, both in public and private, to do some of the mega dams that we are focused on doing. I know there is a lot of discussion together with our public-private partnership unit at the Treasury and all the other partners and friends. So we are focused on doing another 50 mega dams, maybe 200 medium-level dams and 1,000 or so micro dams. So again, there will be opportunity for us. And also irrigation technology is something that we will be focused on. And I know many of your countries, I have visited some of them, have irrigation technology that we can share and learn from one another and create partnerships that can help us achieve our intentions and contribute not just to food security in Kenya, but also through exports contribute to food security elsewhere. Africa's continued exclusion, despite bearing significant share of Security Council's agenda and peacekeeping responsibilities, undermines the legitimacy and effectiveness of the United Nations. Comprehensive reform, including permanent African representation, is essential to the institution's relevance in the 21st century. I commend the diplomatic corps and international organizations represented here for your continued cooperation, your goodwill, and your partnership with Kenya. We truly appreciate, and we don't take it for granted. As we progress in 2026, let us deepen collaboration and ensure that our shared efforts translate into measurable and meaningful outcomes for our peoples and for humanity. The principles of Pan-Africanism, good neighborliness, and regionalism continues to shape our diplomacy. Kenya currently serves as the chair of the East African Community and will chair the Common Markets for Eastern and Southern Africa Authority later this year. These responsibilities align with Kenya's long-term standing view that enhanced regional cooperation remains central to Africa's economic transformation and sustainable development in general. At the continental level, Kenya continues to contribute to Africa's institutional strengthening. As African Union champion for institutional reform, we have supported ongoing efforts to enhance the effectiveness, the credibility, and responsiveness of the Union, particularly in the areas of peace, governance, and financing. In Somalia, Kenya continues to encourage constructive dialogue between the federal government and the federal member states as the foundation for national cohesion and effective governance. We underscore the importance of predictable financing and a conditions-based transition in the Africa Union support and stabilization mission to safeguard hard-won gains that may go to waste if we do not manage the transition properly. Beyond our immediate region, Kenya continues to contribute responsibly to global peace and security. As lead nation in the multinational security support mission in Haiti, we stand in solidarity with the Haitian people and their quest for the restoration of security, order, and the rule of law. We are now focused on a coordinated and orderly transition of that mission to the gang suppression force supported by adequate international financing, strengthened command structures, and a United Nations Support Office, measures essential to consolidate progress and prevent relapse into instability. A lot has been achieved, not as much as we would have wanted, but there is progress that had been achieved that needs to be safeguarded, and then whatever needs to be done should be done. In South Sudan, Kenya reiterates its call to all parties to fully honor their commitments under the revitalized peace agreement. I did speak last evening with President Salva Kiir, and hopefully we will be able to have a meeting later this week or early next week, because the Tumaini initiative that was, in my opinion, a viable pathway towards resolving the issue in South Sudan was sabotaged by political interests. Sudan has finally come back to say maybe we should relook at it again, and I am very open to working with South Sudan in making sure that Kenya supports the peace efforts in that sister country, and we look forward to working with the Troika and all the other partners that are involved in South Sudan. I know there is a feeling by colleagues and partners that everybody is concerned about South Sudan, except you know who.